Let's kind of intro myself just a little bit about what I do even with this church. I've been going to this church for now, I want to say 10 or 11 years or so. It's been a lot of ups and downs, but been in that children's ministry wing for a long time. And now I teach the train room, which is, I believe, ages 4 through 7, sometimes 8. A lot of times kids, they don't want to move on, so we hold on to them as long as possible. We have a great time. And I love speaking with kids because they don't know when I mess up. So it makes it really simple. So if I start talking to you guys like you're 4-year-olds, just forgive me. The message is about forgiveness. Just forgive me. It'll be nice and easy. I do have, I've been married for about 16 years now, right? So that puts me about 41. Right, so married at 25, 16 years. I promise you that was not easy, still isn't easy. We continue to work through that every single day. And I have 3 kids, 14, 12, and 10. Crazy lifestyle, busy, on the go, all day, every day. Travel sports to different events. So if you have kids, you understand the problems that I am talking about right now. If you don't, just get ready, because it doesn't stop. This world gets busier and busier and busier every day. So that being said, I'm kind of humbled to be up here. Again, generally I'm staring at a bunch of 4-year-olds who have no idea what I'm about to say other than let's have a lot of fun. So I am a message guy of having a lot of fun and trying to interpret this stuff. It's not my strong suit, honestly. I'll be completely and truly open with you guys. I'm just humbled to be up here and to talk with you guys. And give this a try. So it's a lot of fun. So here we go, right? So it's given the unmerciful servant, right? And first and foremost, let's have the right page on top. Get that. So what I've titled this message is Unlimited Forgiveness. Right? Unlimited forgiveness. And you'll understand kind of where that comes. But if you put that at the top of your paper, you'll understand basically the entire message of what we're trying to get through. But there's a little bit of a twist on it too. So where we start is a message from Peter. How many times shall I forgive my brother or sister who sins against me? Up to 7 times? This was the question that Peter asked Jesus, and this is the reason that Jesus told the parable of the unmerciful servant. Before I move into the parable, I actually think it's really important to understand Peter's question. Why does Peter ask about 7 times? Well, in the Old Testament, they used to think that you only had to forgive 3 times. Okay? And then on the 4th time, you no longer had to forgive them. You were done. That was it. See you later. I don't have to forgive you any more times. You've sinned against me 3 times. That's it. Write you off. Now, this came from the book of Amos when the prophet Amos discussed God's judgment over 3 different nations, Damascus, Gaza, and Tyre. Meaning, God forgave these nations 3 times before he passes judgment. Okay? So when Peter asked about 7 times, he actually thought he was being super generous, right? Because he was doubling the amount that should have been there, and he added 1, right? And it's God's number, obviously. So Jesus takes that, though, and he answers Peter, not 7 times, but 70 times 7 times. This is, kind of where the parable begins, and I'm going to be making 3 points, right? Kind of through this little bit of a teaching, right? So my first point is God supplies unlimited forgiveness. Why does Jesus tell this story? Right? Why does he go into this parable? Jesus wants to teach us about forgiveness, of course. But inside of this parable, Jesus is also showing us God's love for us. So keep that with you as we keep moving forward. So let's look at, let's put the first slide up with our verses. I'll read through them a little bit. Perfect. And I'll back up just a little bit too. So, Therefore, the kingdom of heaven is like a king who wanted to settle accounts with his servants. As he began the settlement, a man who owed him 10,000 bags of gold. Right now, this is also 10,000, they call it tenants. Oh, I've totally forgot it right now. What was it? Tablets. Talents. I read it like 1,000 times. Things happen, right? Forgive me. So, okay, so 10,000 talents of gold was brought to him. Since he was not able to pay, the master ordered that he and his wife and his children, all that he had, be sold to repay the debt. So, I don't want to get into too much math because there can be a lot of math here, right? So when you say 10,000 bags of gold or 10,000 talents, what does that mean? Well, if you change that into terms now, right, that essentially equates out into about 200,000 years of work. So he owed so much money to the king that it was an insurmountable amount of money. It actually says that he owed him more money than what was actually out in the world at the time. So at this, anybody that's listening to this parable right now, right, they could almost just scoff at it. I could see it. They'd be like, what? Why? Like, what an idiot. Why would you go into so much debt? Like, what? And also, what about the king? The king, what an idiot the king is to allow him to take so much money. Like, the amount of money he had, it was like, you never learned your lesson, right? And so they think, oh, that's ridiculous. That's what the world was thinking at that time. And so, with this amount of debt, let me see where we're at, lost my Z's. Okay, so with this amount of debt, right, the servant can only do one thing, right? And I know it's not in there right now, but we'll get there. The servant will fall on his knees and say, be patient with me. Now, how in the world would he even think that he could pay this debt back? 200,000 years of work. I mean, I don't think they had the lotto back in the day, right? So they couldn't be like, I'm playing this. No, right? Like, you're just not going to hit it. Right? So he said, be patient with me and I'll pay it all back. Right? And again, now in this story that Jesus is telling us, again, the people that are listening are like, get out of town. This is ridiculous. He's never going to pay this back. He's never going to be able to give you what you owe. Never. Right? And again, it just goes against what everyone was thinking. Now, got to keep on finding my spot. I'm so sorry. Okay. Now, you would think what happens in this story is the king then forgives, right, of him of his debt. And you would think, right, that this servant would be just elated, right? Jump for joy as high as you can, but he doesn't do that. Right? Now imagine here real quick, right? Imagine if I had the power to forgive all the debt in this room. Imagine I said, guess what, guys? You showed up on an amazing night. Today, you walk out debt-free. All your mortgages gone, right? All your car debt out of here. All your boats, all your fun stuff you got. I mean, can you imagine he was in debt 200,000 years? You imagine what he would have bought with all that stuff, what you guys would have had? All of that debt gone. Right? You're screaming. You're running out the door. You're like, I'm out of here, man. I'm out. Call up the wife. Babe, what's up? We are rich. Right? Like, come on, let's go. You're over the top. Right? Now, but this servant, he acts differently, which leads me to my second point. Forgiveness can hurt. And then I'll add this. This isn't in there, but forgiveness can hurt, but it's not easy. Right? God makes it easy in that first one, but for us, it's not easy. So let's go to the second slide. Let's see what happens. All right. At this, the servant fell on his knees before him. Be patient with me, he begged, and I will pay back everything. The servant's master took pity on him, canceled the debt, and let him go. Right? So that's crazy. Is that 28 and 31 now? Are we on the next one? Oh, yeah, we're on the next one. So next. Yeah, perfect. So when he let him go, then now I think I'm one behind, actually. Can you go to the next one over? Yeah, so let him go. Okay, so then we let him go. But when that servant went out, he found one of his fellow servants who owed him 100 silver coins. Easy math, $10,000. Okay, $10,000. He owed him $10,000. He grabbed him and he began to choke him. Pay back what you owe me, he demanded. His fellow servant fell to his knees and begged him, be patient with me and I will pay it back. Same thing that he said, right? But I don't know about you, but somebody owes me $10,000. I'm not going to just be like, oh, have a great day. It's $10,000, not a big deal. A couple hundred, maybe, right? But that's painful to give out. That's painful to say, I forgive you. Now, you would think because he was just forgiven of 100,000 years, that it would be easy or simple to release that debt. So let me tell you about a forgiveness hurt by myself, something that God has pursued me with. And I'll tell you this much. When you start diving into the Word and you're like, I got to teach on this, guess what happens? Man, God, he pursues you. He just jumps into your life and he's like, you're pursuing me, right? And I've got it for you. So let me tell you a little bit about what I was going through with this. About 3 months ago, and I'll try not to bore you with details, right? I'll try to keep it on the good stuff, the God stuff, but you got to know some backstory. So about 3 months ago, my best friend of 25 years, meaning I knew him inside and out, right? Had betrayed my trust. And is now, after forgiveness after forgiveness after forgiveness that I was giving him, he's now divorcing his third wife on his third divorce, right? And I told him a year ago, I said, listen, don't divorce this wife. She's good to you, right? If you do divorce her, I've got a line. So that's that backstory. So now he divorces this wife. There's physical abuse in that relationship, things that I can't stand for, I won't stand for. And so about 3 months ago, that happened, and it took me by storm, right? And it got cut off. And I haven't spoken to him in 3 months, where I used to speak with him every day for hours, because military guy, right? PTSD problems, always dealing with it, trying to help out. And there's a lot of pain on both sides, So God wasn't really talking to me, right? I didn't really feel it. So I went I did a fast. I was like, I haven't fasted in a while. I think we went to breakfast, and I was like, I can't eat. I'm not allowed to eat right now. And he was like, but it's breakfast. I was like, I know. Smells delicious. Ordered bacon. It's crazy, right? And God, at the end of my 3-day fast, water fast, he said, you don't have intentional time with me, and you're dealing with some stuff. And I said, I know. He says, you're dealing with God hurt, God pain, right? And I couldn't let it go. It was too much, too hard, and I was separated myself from God because I had unforgiveness towards God. And it tore me away, and it hurt my relationship, even with my wife, right? I was a little short-fused, right? Even though I thought I was fine, I was a little more short-fused. And so I go to another men's group, I do, Saturday morning. This is just literally 2 days ago, right? I wake up, it's an early morning one, 5:30 in the morning. I'm like, all right, God, we're going to another men's group, going to get ready, going to keep on writing my notes, do my thing. And he's like, yeah, that's not it for you today. And I'm like, all right, well, what is it for me? He's like, you're going to deal with forgiveness. I said, all right, like, let's deal with that, right? Like, I'm not really interested, but we'll do it. So, all right, taking a step, we're going there. And on the drive there, it's sports. I'm a big sports guy, okay? If you knew me in a different life, you'd be like, man, this guy is 100% about sports. So NBA playoffs are going on. I'm like, oh, radio, give me the ESPN. And something inside me was just like, turn it off, put on some worship music. I said, all right, I'll turn it off. Right? Turn it off, put on some worship music. And I'm driving there. And God says to me while I'm driving, he goes, listen, are you sure you're ready to deal with this? Are you sure that you want to be done? And I said, yeah, like I want this again. Right? I want to be close. I want to have my intentional time with you. I want to be focused on you. Yes, I'm ready. He said, okay, well, who are you going to talk to when you get there? And I was like, well, the leader. When the leader's there, I'll talk to the leader. He's a good friend of mine. I'll make sure that when he's there, I'll talk to him. He goes, all right, well, if he's not there. I said, well, I'll talk to the next leader. Like, I know the next leader. I know the other guys. Like, I've been doing this for 2 years. Like, I know everybody there. It's fine. I'll talk to those leaders. I'll go in. I'll talk to him. He goes, all right, well, as long as the right person is there for you, will you talk to him? I said, yes. Yes, God, as long as the right person is there, I'll talk to him. And I show up to this meeting, right, men's group, and usually there's about 80 guys, right? And there's about 20. And I was like, whoa, that's a light crowd. And I look around, and none of the leaders are there. None of my friends, right? All almost practically new guys. And I'm like, all right, well, I'll just have a seat. So I took a seat, right? Grabbed one. Got these kind of in a circle. They make the circle real small. And I sit down, right? And I'm just like, all right, man, let's hear the story. Let's talk. Just listening, being quiet. And about 15 minutes in, guess who walks in the door? My best friend, who I haven't talked to in 3 months, walks his behind right on in and sat down right there. Now, he knows my truck, right? He knows where it's at. He knows where I am. We have done the same men's group for a long time. For him to come in is very intentional, right? So now I'm like, ready, God? Come on. Like, God, really? Is that where we're at? Like, I was ready to talk to anybody else. Anybody else, right? There's history here. Like, if I don't want to fight right now, I'm not interested. I don't even know what I would say. And he was like, all right, well, I'm just trying to listen. I've got nothing. And we do this thing where music turns on and you can kind of separate. So music turns on, lights go down. He stands up and goes on that side of the room, stands in the corner. And I'm like, all right, now's the time to talk, right? Now's the time. I could do it. I can totally do it. And God goes, yeah, get up. And I'm like, all right, I'll get up. And I get up, and he goes, take a step. And I was like, sure will. And I walked this way. And I stood on this side of the room in the dark, just thinking, I don't have anything to say to this guy. I can't say the right words. I don't know what mental state he's in. I don't know anything that this guy is going through right now. I haven't talked to him in forever. And he goes, would you just take a step? And I was like, all right. So I finally start to walk. I'm like, what am I going to say? I don't know what I'm going to say. I'm going to say all kinds of things. I could say nothing and then as soon as I get over there, he's like sitting down and praying a little bit. And there's a door off to my right. And I was just like, taking the door. And I'm out the door, right? Because this is not easy. This is gripping my heart and my feelings. It's opening me up. And I'm standing in the hallway. I'm like, God, what are you doing to me? What are you doing right now? I don't have words for this man. And I go and I turn and I'm like, there's the door. I know he's right there. I know you want me to say something to him. What do you want me to say? And he goes, don't say anything. Just go sit next to him. And I was like, of course, I could say yes to that, right? And I step outside and he's kneeling on the ground and I sit down next to him. I kneel next to him. I don't say a word. I don't have to say a word because God says it all. Emotion passed, things took place. Not a word had to be said because I've talked to this guy my entire life. He tapped me on the knee, he stood up, and he walked out the door. And I got completely opened up and released and free. And it was incredible. And the whole time I was like, man, was I talking to myself that whole time? Was it just, no, all right, God's got me, right? God, you know exactly what I needed. You knew exactly who I needed to talk to. And the only thing I needed to do was take a step. Every time you said, take a step, I took a step. Every time you said, you don't need to do this, I got this. I just trusted it. And because of that, I got to go speak to his wife about the forgiveness and the healing. I got to spread God's love to the next. And God works, and he works, and he works. Which brings me to my third point. God's heart. God's heart is in this parable. Releasing the person from the ties that are on your heart is how you truly understand God's love. Let's go to the next page here. Now, this is where they're bringing, essentially they bring the servant and other people hear that the servant was not forgiving, right? His other servant. And he's going to bring him back into the God. So he says, but he refused. Instead, he went off, had the man thrown into prison until he could pay the debt. When the other servants saw what had happened, they were outraged and went and told their master everything that had happened. And we're missing, you got to go one more through. There you go. Then the master called the servant in. You wicked servant, he said, I cancel all that debt of yours because you begged me to. Shouldn't you have had mercy on your fellow servant just as I had mercy on you? In anger, his master handed him over to the jailers to be tortured until he should pay back all that he owed. And then Jesus says this, this is how my heavenly Father will treat each of you unless you forgive your brother or sister from your heart. Now you're like, that's not very forgiving, God. In this part, what we read about looks like God's anger and God's judgment. But what we are really seeing is the reaction from God to this man's twisted heart. He had every opportunity to demonstrate God's love to another peer, and he turned from it. To live with God's forgiveness is to truly understand how much God loves us and to pass that love to others. To truly trust that God's judgment is just, but to deny his heart and to hold on to unforgiveness is death. Jesus knows this, which is why he warns us of this in the parable. Unforgiveness is proven to cause so many issues with us, right? Even in your own health. Some of the things that we deal with, if we have unforgiveness, anger, depression, anxiety, stress, bitterness, it's a multitude of physical problems that can be caused by unforgiveness. Google it. It's all there. You're carrying stuff, and it's not meant for you. But I believe that Jesus is teaching here, what Jesus is teaching here is that unforgiveness will cause separation from God. God's heart and love is here for us now to help us, to guide us. Now, I'm not going to do any altar call. Lord knows that I wouldn't even know where to start with that. But what I am going to ask is that you just think for a second. and you open your heart up to listen to what God might have for you. And you might be thinking, I don't deserve this kind of love. It's just too costly to forgive them at this point. They've hurt me too deep. This person doesn't deserve it. I'll say this. Stop being the judge. It's not who you are. It's not your role. Give it to God. Let him be the judge and trust him with your heart and take a step into what God has for you. Now, what I'd like is just to close in prayer. So if you want to bow your heads, close your eyes, whatever you want to do, it doesn't matter to me. God, we deal with so much. As men, we have so many things that are on us always. Sometimes we feel, why is it always up to us? Why do I always have to be the one to forgive? Why do I always have to be that one? God has you. Right now, God has you. Father, I lift up these men. Take all their unforgiveness. Take everything from them as they give it to you. We love you, God. Thank you for all that you are. Amen.